All right, we're back at it. Welcome into the Auburn Live Show, the Modcast version. Jeffrey Lee, Cole Pinkston, and myself, Justin Hokanson from AuburnLive.com on 3 Sports. As we get ready for Auburn and South Carolina, basketball season's going, recruiting's heating up. Jeffrey, Cole, what's going on, guys? Busy with the recruiting. I feel like that's heating up.
How about you, Hoke? And yes, you are correct. We are within 1 month until signing day.
That's right.
That's crazy. I still got to get, I've been out of the game. And so I mean, last time I was in it, there was no early signing period. So it's weird getting back used to that early signing period in a month. Yeah, like guys will be signing.
Yeah, I have to say, even though the early signing period's coming up and I am fired up about that, basketball's got me kind of excited too, and I'm not really a basketball guy, so that's
good.
Yeah.
I hope that carries over. I feel like there's a lot of, Bruce has done a good job. But there's a lot of, I feel like, Auburn fan base that had to come a long way into being interested in basketball. And so I think you probably reflect a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Auburn, South Carolina. And then as we always do, we'll talk recruiting on the back end. If you missed the recruiting podcast Jeffrey and Cole did a couple days ago, make sure you go listen to that. That's going to be ramping up as recruiting gets wild and crazy. So we'll do more and more of that. All right, guys, TJ Finley time. As Auburn prepares to go to South Carolina, Bo Nix out for the year, Anders Carlson out for the year. Auburn loses the game. All that happened in the last 15 minutes of last week's game. Now it's TJ Finley's turn to start. Ironically, his first start last year for LSU was against South Carolina, and he lit it up. And then in the next week, Auburn lit him up. But don't really know what to expect, honestly. South Carolina is certainly not a great team. They're marginally a good team at times. I don't even know if you go that far, but they have a pretty good defense. So. And with TJ Finley starting, I don't really know. I mean, I feel like Auburn could win this game by a field goal. I feel like Auburn could win it by 17. Neither would shock me. Honestly, I'd still be surprised if Auburn lost. That'd be pretty disappointing. But Jeffrey, what's your vibe on this game? And just talk about Finley, man. What do you think about Finley starting? What do you think he can do as Auburn's quarterback? Just kind of give me your thoughts on where things are right now.
Ooh. Man, I'm not yet sold on TJ Finley. He's got some. I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe that Auburn can win out. With 3 minutes left to go in this first half last week against Mississippi State, I'm watching that game. I'm watching Bo, and I'm watching Auburn score 4 touchdowns, and I'm going, dude, we've got a freaking Iron Bowl on our hands this year. Alabama's beatable. And if this team plays like they did in the first 30 minutes of the first half, is that right?
Yeah.
We've got a ball game, and then the bed was scattered on the rest of the game, I expect South Carolina. I don't care who's at quarterback. Auburn has to go to South Carolina and win. I don't care. I don't care who's playing quarterback. I mean, they can hand the ball off 35, 40 times, and Auburn should be able to beat South Carolina. It's just the way it is. It's the way it should be. Not sold on TJ Finley. I don't know what to expect. I didn't pay attention to him last year at LSU. I saw what he did at Georgia State this year. And, whatever. I'm just not sold on him. I'm not sold on him that he's the quarterback of the future for certain. He might be, man. I don't know. But up to this point, I'm Montana on him.
I mean, I'm with you, honestly. I'll say this. The more I've listened to him, we talked to him on Wednesday.
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you watch that?
No, I just saw what you wrote about him and how well he did, and I didn't see that. I didn't watch that, so probably doing everybody a disservice for commenting on it.
No. Well, I love the kid. I mean, really impressive for a young kid. Like, just thoughtful. I think people haven't seen a lot of him, obviously, but so I'll give him props to that because he's a really impressive interview. He gives thoughtful answers. Good dude, good kid. But as far as on the field, I'm kind of with you. I mean, you got to think about that Georgia State game, and yes, he led them down the field, yes. But man, think about how close that was to not happening against Georgia State. Think about the play where he's falling down about middle of the field, and he kind of makes that pass forward. Think about the fourth down play where, like that was they seriously like almost lost that game even with Finley, and then Finley's come in a couple games, and Georgia total wash up time, hits Landon King on a couple of balls, and down the middle, but then. Yikes. I mean, fumbles last week. He had another game. I can't remember which one it was. Another game where he had mop-up duty. It was just not sold either. I mean, I'm curious, like, what a week of reps does. What does he look like when he gets all the reps this week? And then the next week. But, I don't know. I have no idea.
Here's how I feel about TJ Finley at South Carolina. He doesn't have to win the ball game for Auburn.
Yeah.
He just has to not lose the game for Auburn. I feel like Auburn should be able to go in there with Grant Loy and win the ball game. I do. So the only thing riding on TJ's shoulders is not to lose the ball game. Don't throw interceptions. Don't fumble the football. Don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Get comfortable because you're going to have to be the dude next week, right? I mean, this is important for him, for Auburn to even have a chance. And I don't know that they even do, but for them to have a chance to keep the line under 20 against Alabama,
Yeah, I saw where that came out, like an early initial line or something was like 18, and I was like, might not be enough. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Cole, what do you think? You wrote about TJ this week at auburnlive.com, kind of what you thought from the offense. We talked to Hudson and Nick Brahms and TJ. We asked them, like, hey, what's this offense look like with TJ? And it didn't sound like it was going to be dramatically different. I mean, Brian Harsin was like, look, he has to execute what we think will be successful. I mean, there might be some differences, obviously. Maybe you're not rolling him out the way you were Bo, but I mean, ultimately that offense is just, they've got some things they've got to do to be successful no matter who the quarterback is. But what do you see from a Finley-led Auburn offense? What do you think it's going to look like?
Yeah, I've been quiet so far just because I'm trying to think of kind of what I wrote this week and thinking back to the snaps he's played for Auburn so far. And to me, the most telling snaps he played was the drive he got during the LSU game when the game was in hand. It was after he had brought Auburn back and won in the Georgia State game. They gave Finley a chance just to drive, and they were under center on every single play in that game. They hadn't gone under center much before that with Bo in, 3-4 drives before that. So I'm wondering if we get a heavy dose of under center offense. It's maybe more. Here's my thing on the run game. The last 2 weeks to me has not been enough as far as the run game goes.
Mm-hmm.
You got Tank getting 15 carries and Hunter got 4 carries in both games. What happened to Hunter? I don't understand. Where is Hunter? Okay, you throw it to him a little bit, yeah, but you got to give him the ball. I mean, he's the guy that's putting moves on people like he's in a phone booth making people miss. I mean, I'd have to roll the dice with him a little bit more, So I'm kind of leaning more towards Mike Bobo. What is he going to do? Does not having Bo Nix psych him out a little bit, or does it make him feel more comfortable because maybe Finley's a little more calm and he'll execute things better? I don't know. To me, it's a mystery. I just don't have a precise answer this week. I just want to watch and see a full game under Finley, and then, I can tell you where they're going to be in the Iron Bowl pretty much. But for right now, you got to be able to run the football. That's number one. He can make those laser throws. But will he get Auburn in trouble that way? Will he throw an interception? Bo only threw 3 this year, so I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at on this one.
Yeah. Well,
what happened to Jarquez Hunter?
I don't know. I wrote about that, and it was like the last 4 games he hasn't gone over 38 yards. I mean, he's gotten not really. Really, you could go back to that Arkansas game when he fumbled when Auburn got fortunate, right, and kept that ball. It's like since then, I mean, he's nothing. You're right. He's not getting the yards. He's not getting the carries either.
I mean, he was among the conversation early in the season, maybe a third of the way through for SEC Freshman of the Year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Cat was going down. I mean, and then Where did you go? What'd you say, Cole? 4 carries in the past 2 games? 8 total?
Past 2 games, 4 carries in each game. So 8 total, yes.
And you would like to see those 2 guys sharing 30 carries, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, maybe
20 and 10?
Yeah, at least. Well, I went back and looked, and I was like, okay, what's his average? Like, what's he getting per carry? Maybe that's the problem. He's still above 5 yards per carry. So I'm like, you got to get him involved, man. I don't know how you're going to do it, but just hand him the ball off, toss it to him, do all the things that you were doing, like in the Penn State game. Where did that stuff go? I mean, they really had some success with him in the Penn State game, and other games. I'm just kind of curious where that went. That's my biggest question.
Did Bo get his carries?
3.
So Bo carried 3 times
on design runs, yeah.
In the last game.
In the last game, 3 times. The game before that, I think it was 5, if I remember correctly, 4 or 5. To me, that was not enough either. But that ship has kind of sailed. So I don't think you're going to see any design QB runs with Finley. So that's why I'm like, okay, time to get Hunter back in the offense.
I would agree. Well, so TJ made an interesting comment. He said, we talked to him on Wednesday. He said the running game was going to look different. So whatever that means.
Well, if it's all under center,
certainly.
That could be different.
And it's not like Shivers came back and took all his carries.
No, he's not. He's the third down back now. And by the way, in the Texas A&M game, my dude Shivers lined up at the fullback in the eye on the toss play as the lead blocker.
Joe Frazier, baby.
Yeah. Hey, if I'm a big guy sitting on the sideline watching him take reps for me at that position, man, that guy's just got all the heart. I guess he's just got it all.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know what sense I made of that. I thought maybe they were setting up, maybe there's a play where, I don't know, like, are they setting him up to play action and he comes and he runs a wheel route? Or I just didn't understand what that was about. But no, you're right about the running game. I mean, look, it's been bad. I mean, it's been inconsistent all year. They had moments. What's crazy is the first half against Mississippi State. Cole, I think you were up there in the press box. I looked at you and I said, man, this is the best, most consistent they've run the ball against a Power 5 team. Like, that first half was consistently good. Not like a 30-yard run and then nothing. I mean, the first half was consistently good. And then it just completely disappeared. I think Tank had like 9 carries for 8 yards in like the last, 2.5 quarters or something. I mean, it's mind-blowing how inconsistent that team is, but specifically that offense is and that line is running the ball. I mean, it's wild. It's almost like they've got their plays that work and they can execute those, and then past that, I mean, it's just crazy how they can look that good and then all of a sudden literally not even get first downs. I mean, 28 first half points in that game, 28 first half points, and late and like into the fourth quarter. At one point, the first downs in the Mississippi State, that was 16-2 in the second half. At one point, first downs for Mississippi State, 16-2. I mean, that is mind blowing to score 4 touchdowns in a half and then be halfway through the fourth quarter in the next half and have 2 first downs. That makes no sense.
That's wild. Yeah,
but and I think somebody mentioned on the board when I was watching the game, it seemed like in the second half it was run, pass. That was Auburn's play calling.
Yeah,
and of course they didn't get first downs. It was run, first and second, and throw it on third. It was that was frustrating to watch. It kind of took me back to last year.
Yeah. I said that. I was like, dude, if Gus Malzahn was the coach, you can predict everything that would have been said after that game. What would have been said after that game. Now it's fair. It's a new staff and a new OC, so it's fair not to to give them whatever. But that brought back some of the play calling. I mean, it was weird. They'd come back and Mississippi State scored a touchdown, and Auburn would come back and throw or run the ball. Or then the next time they'd come back and throw 3 passes. I mean, it was super erratic. It was very erratic.
Erratic. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, and just kind of a theory that I've sort of come up with just watching it. Honestly, everybody remembers how predictable, use the word predictable, Gus Malzahn's offense was, right? You knew what was coming. You knew it was going to be a screen, RPO, or, people called it the dive, but it was inside zone is what he ran all the time, right? You knew what was coming. You knew what the down and distance would tell you, like, first down, we're going inside zone every time. It's almost like with Bobo, he's like afraid of being predictable because I think I tapped you on the shoulder in the press box, Justin, and said, hey, here's that bunch set. They like the mid zone right here. They've done really well with that. And then he runs play action out of it. And he did that 3 times that I remember. And I don't remember them running the mid zone out of the bunch, which is what they've done so well this year. And I'm like, okay, I get not wanting to be predictable, but hey, let's not go too far here, That's almost what it feels like right now to me. Like you're trying to be just a little bit too unpredictable. Yeah. I think there's some things that you do well and you need to stay with it, and this is the week to come back to it.
Yeah, it almost outsmarting yourself is what it sounds like you're saying,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, Finley, he's going to have to be accurate. That's been an issue with him. Last year, he completed like 57% of his passes with LSU. Had a couple good games and then a couple of, pedestrian games. It was, it's kind of like old Bo, honestly. And so, that'll be interesting watching him throw the ball. He hadn't looked great on the out routes and stuff towards the boundaries. I almost think Finley's been better in the middle of the field. So I'm wondering, where Bo had gotten really good at rolling out, throwing those out routes, he became money on those. I wonder if they keep more in the middle of the field with TJ. Obviously, has a great arm. I mean, they can still go deep to Javarius and to Demetrius. They can still take their shots there. But yeah, that running game has to get cranked up because you don't have those legs. And
I'll tell you just a quick observation on Finley is I wonder if they're almost having to tell him, hey, we want you to be relaxed out there, but don't be too relaxed,
Yeah.
Because he'll fit it in the tightest windows you've ever seen. And sometimes it looks like, Tom Brady, beaming it in there or something. And other times he'll throw a pick. So he's calm. You like that. I mean, that's the opposite of Bo, right?
Yeah.
But, there's the fine line, I think. You got to be careful.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I'm looking forward to it though, obviously. I mean, I think I want to see what he can do. I'm excited for TJ and I know he's excited. I mean, I think the team loves him. I think he's got their support. I give TJ a lot of credit. I mean, he said a lot of good things on Wednesday talking about how he prepares every week, like to be a starter, and not just so he'll be ready physically or so he'll know the playbook. I mean, he talked about preparing like a starter so that he's showing the team that he can be a leader. So if that time comes up, that they believe in him and trust him. So like he's, pretty introspective, kid to think like that. And so I think the team, I don't think there's any issues in like the rallying around him or anything like that. I think they're pumped for him and excited for him. So I think that's the big challenge. I mean, defensively, look, Auburn was terrible, obviously, against State in the second half, but Carolina's nothing special on offense. I mean, there's no reason Auburn's defense shouldn't be able to get right this week and play well. I mean, they're not going to throw the ball all over the field. I mean, there's really no reason that Auburn can't bounce back and have a good game defensively, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I don't think that the defense is as bad as they looked last week. I think that they just kind of – when we went through the film study this week on Wednesday, it was just like, you're not getting pressure. Michael Leach knows that. He's got plays for that. It's as simple as that. It really doesn't get any more complicated than that. He knew what to do. He knew the plays that were longer developing, he could call those because they weren't going to get pressure consistently. So I don't think – I'm not going to call it a fluke. I mean, I say it was a great called game by Michael Leach. I say it was a not great called game by Derek Mason on defense. And I think obviously Auburn matches up a little bit better with South Carolina the way they do things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it was I mean, granted, Mississippi State's thrown the ball on basically everybody. I mean, we do got to give them credit. Will Rogers has been fantastic all year. But man, Jeffrey, like listening to McCreary and Chandler Wooten talk about the defense was, I mean, McCreary's talking about they just weren't focused. They basically let off the gas pedal. McCreary talked about not everybody doing their job. And then you hear Chandler Wooten say, well, the game plan in the first half worked. And so, basically we figured it'd work in the second half, and we just didn't execute. And I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know how much you can blame it on not executing. If you want to say that, that's fine. But the other team gets a chance to adjust and play better. So it's going to take sometimes. I mean, yeah, you can't really say, well, we didn't execute. Well, I mean, if they adjusted and played better, then you needed to switch something up. So it's frustrating to hear them talk about like, well, we just figured it'd work again in the second half. I don't know. Who knows why it didn't. We just didn't play well enough. Like, I mean, so I think Derek Mason's caught a lot of heat. I'm sure he went back and looked at that film and thought of a bunch of different things he could have done differently, I guess. So I don't really know what happened in the second half of that game, but not a good look on Derek Mason for that one. He needs to bounce back with a couple of good games to end the season.
Yes, he does. He has lost some fans. It was big of those players to even come up and say that because I don't feel like in the second half, and Cole knows more about coaching than I ever will, but I don't feel like the coaches put those players in the best position in the second half to be successful. I just don't feel that way. I thought T.D. Moultrie had one of the better games of his freaking career. Dude was a madman out there. Got robbed of that sack, which was a huge play. I think it was 3rd and long, or it would have brought up a 3rd and long or something like that. It was a big deal. Mm-hmm. But what we saw in that series, if I'm not mistaken, it was that series, Auburn actually brought pressure. Mm-hmm. Like they rushed more than 3. They put some pressure on Will Rogers to actually make some decisions instead of sitting back there like a 7-on-7 and picking out whoever runs open. That was so frustrating. And we've seen a lot of that from Derek Mason. We've seen a lot of sitting back and just kind of keeping it dink and dunking all the way down the field. But, man, that's frustrating to watch. And I know it's got to be frustrating for those players when you're sitting back there. You can only cover for so long. I play defense back. I know you're going to get open if you want to get open. Yep. So that was it was frustrating to watch. I understand that, it worked in the first half, but if they're going to make adjustments to what you're doing, you're going to have to adjust to what they're doing as well. Because if you're not, then it's a one-sided ball game, and it was. And the TV announcers, I don't know if y'all caught the TV broadcast of that show, but I was thinking the same thing when I was watching it because we had the same thing in Brooks's flag football game the week before. We were up big, up 3 touchdowns, but they had the ball before half. They had the ball coming out after half, and I'm thinking that's a 14-point swing. It's 28-3. Could easily be 28-17 before Auburn ever gets the ball back again. And that's exactly what happened. Meticulously drove the ball down the field before half, scores, come out in the second half, drives down, scores. It's 28-17. Auburn can't answer, and it was just over from there. It was over. There was no adjustments made. I mean, to my untrained eye, I didn't see any adjustments made on defense or offense, except for, I guess, Cole, what you – I felt like Bobo changed his play calling in the second half.
Yeah.
Was he playing not to lose?
Yeah, he
took his foot off the gas.
I mean, he left the run game alone to me. You said he didn't – when I look at the numbers after the game, it seemed like they were running the football still, or they were attempting to. But for the running backs, they got 19 carries in the game, 20. So how many total plays? Somewhere in the 60s. So they really weren't running the ball or attempting to. They kind of got to where, okay, we're losing momentum here. It's time to grab some big plays. So
was it more 50-50 in the first half?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I thought it was 51. I saw at one point it was 51-49 run-pass ratio Auburn had in the first half. Just a badass first half.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, play calling, the passes, the catches, the routes, the runs, the blocking. It was a dominating first half.
I'll tell you this. They've got to find a way to get Javarius Johnson back in the game plan like they did last week. I mean, my gosh.
He can play.
You just flip a little screen, he takes it to the house, 57 yards. I mean, nobody was close, and he ran through people. And then he's running by people in coverage on deep balls. I'm like, man, what in the world? Where's he been? That's might be the biggest mystery of the year, unless he was just, hurt.
Shit, man, that's all we heard. That's all we heard about in fall camp, right?
Yes.
Yep. He was the most popular receiving name we heard out of fall camp. And then when we got to the season, it was like, I guess he wasn't ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that one. I mentioned him. He was banged up a little, came back, and then what was it, Arkansas? He caught that early touchdown. But, I mean, since then he's been in there, and I've thought the same thing, Cole. I mean, he's too fast and he's too explosive. I'm like, when is he going to get involved? Because he's got talent that nobody else has out there. In that speed, somebody that can get open in space. He's a great compliment to Kobe, and certainly Shed. So hopefully he keeps in the and they don't need to just use him on. Think about the way you used Ryan Davis back in the day. Think about Javaris Johnson dragging across the field or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be deep balls to him. Jermaine, just get him open in space and drag him across the field and dump it to him and let him make plays. So hopefully that continues. Kobe Hudson had a fantastic game. Mike Leach, I don't know if y'all saw his quote after the game, but he goes, I don't know who number 5 is, but I want to meet him. He was really impressed with Kobe. Of course, the one-handed grab was stupid.
Yeah, he didn't see that A&M game the week before, did he?
Huh?
Mike Leach didn't see that A&M game?
Yeah. That was maybe one of his worst games. Man.
Yeah.
If he'll focus.
Hey, that says a lot about him from rebounding from that A&M game and having the game he had against Mississippi State.
Yeah,
and that dude, listen, that's one guy that in high school I watched a lot of and followed his recruitment very closely, covered it obviously. That guy, I was like, this guy's a difference maker, man. Like he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, he is.
He was a quarterback.
Yes, he did everything, dude. He did everything.
So he's stealing. I mean, he's got a lot to learn still. I mean, as a receiver, right? I mean,
he's so natural. He's really good.
Yeah.
What are y'all talking about? I ain't talking about.
Shout out to Zach Blackerby. Zach Blackerby from Locked On. That's his Twitter thing. He called him a natural. So every time he does something, he's like, man, he's so natural. He's so natural. It's exactly. It's a great description of him. That's what he is. I mean, he looks like a dude born to play wide out. I mean, that's what he looks like. So chances against South Carolina. So we feel good. I'm with you, Jeffrey. I mean, I think this is a game they should win. Finley or Nix, they should win. I just wonder about like the upheaval of the last couple of weeks or the collapse against State and where they're at. Brian Harsin's never lost 3 in a row in his career. He's never lost 3 in a row. So got to avoid that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the mentality, the team's focus, all what's going on in the locker room, that should be the only thing that would worry me. I mean, when they're going up there, right? I mean, I think you put a note up today on Papo.
Yeah.
Justin, which was not good, right? Not good.
Yeah. I mean, he's expected, likely not going to play again. This year, and then at that point he's probably going to go pro. He's not going to use his COVID year to come back. I mean, he's his measurables, and he'll do well at the combine. Probably he'll run a good 40, and he'll get drafted on his stats alone. But yeah, I don't think when he came back from that ankle injury, he didn't grade out well. He didn't look awesome, and I think that's why they sat him against State, thinking, hey, the way State's going to play, his snaps are probably going to be limited anyway. Let's sit him, see if we can get him healthy. And with 2 games left, I just don't think they're going to put him out there to suck it up. I mean, think about if he goes out there at 70%, doesn't help the defense necessarily, puts a bunch of bad film out there. Like that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Now, I think Auburn's defense is better with 100% Papo in it, but I don't feel like it's absolutely detrimental that he's not going to be out there.
I agree. That's disappointing. I mean, for Papo was when I remember I was out of it, and I remember from afar when they got him, T-Will, right, recruited him. I was like, whoa, like I was blown away that I didn't follow it closely. I was just like somebody who saw it. I mean, Jeffrey, and I remember seeing Papo come to Auburn. I was like, that is a massive get in the middle of Georgia and what they're doing. Like, whoa! I mean, that blew me away.
This was back when Tennessee was handing out McDonald's bags too. Now,
yeah. I mean, but has he lived up? I mean, he hadn't quite lived up to the billing. I mean,
man, 5 stars. Auburn is the graveyard for 5 stars, man. You know, I saw a 2023 big offensive tackle from Dr. Phillips in Orlando for next year, and I was thinking, God bless America. Reminds me of Calvin Ashley, you know, Byron Cowart, Calvin Ashley. I mean,
it's amazing. It is amazing.
Unless your name is Derek Brown.
Derek Brown, right? I mean, you know, you had like Trey Blackman was good, but you know, he was probably like Owen Papo, right? I mean, he was a multi-year starter. He was probably a second-team All-SEC guy, but he wasn't the All-American that we all thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, I don't know if Owen is 70%, then I don't blame him at all.
Yeah,
taken out, and I like I said, I don't think it's going to win or lose Auburn a ball game that he's in there, or whether he's in there or not.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pick on the guy, but he was just looking kind of passive, which you can't be that way as a linebacker. If you're hurt and you're passive, you're hurting the team playing linebacker. You could have put him out there at safety or something. Maybe he would have done a better job, but you can't bang around with offensive linemen and just try to avoid contact. That's not going to work. That's what he looked like to me at times. So I think you're a lot better off with Wooten than McClain right now.
Yeah, and Chandler Wooten's played well this year. He really has.
Then who? Then Papo.
Yes.
You want McClain?
Yeah, I'm saying you're better off with Wooten.
Okay. Yeah, here.
The way it is.
I'll take Jacoby all day long, twice on Sunday.
Sure.
I think he's better than Owen.
Does he come out of the game at all anymore? I mean, does he get? I haven't seen.
He makes a tackle every other play.
Yeah. His worst game. The only game where Jacoby kind of disappeared was Georgia, and I think that had a lot to do with Georgia. You know, in running the ball and linemen. I think linemen getting on him probably, and you know that's the only game where he I don't even know if he had 5 tackles in that game. He just. I don't think he could get loose and get free to make plays. But I mean, other than that, yeah, he's been on since that game. Really, he's been on a nice tear of probably 10, 11 tackles a game.
Yeah, upwards of 15 at some point.
Yeah. All right, so Auburn, South Carolina, 6 p.m. Saturday night. It's a game Auburn needs to win. They just need to get a W in the column and then get to Alabama.
One last thing on that, Justin.
Yeah.
You remember when you wrote? I think you wrote on Sunday when Bo Nix was good to go, according to publicly at least. The line came out as 10, right?
Yeah.
Didn't open at 10, and I think after the Bo Nix news, it went to 7.
Yeah.
6.5 in some places.
Yeah.
And I thought, damn, Bo Nix is only good for a field goal.
Yeah, I would 6, even 6 and 7. I thought, man, but I guess I don't know. South Carolina's just not great. I mean,
but who did they beat? They beat
Florida. Florida's got everybody. You know, they beat Florida, and everybody went. You know, You know, they put that on tape, and everybody's kind of like, well, and I think we know Florida is kind of a disaster right now.
That's what Auburn can't afford to do. That's kind of what I was getting to about Auburn going the mentality, the locker room and stuff like that. They can't be a Florida. Finish the season strong. Go up there, whoop some ass, and come back down and play a respectable game against Alabama. Go to a bowl game, have a good time. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about Chizik's first year. Didn't they go? I think they went 7-5 that year. Lost to Bama at home, but it was a great game. Won the Outback Bowl. And you know, propelled them into the next year. And so
8-5, that's right.
Yeah, maybe they can do something like that. Go put a W up there. I think the team's in a good place. I will say Nick Brahms was asked about that, and we'll move on to recruiting. But he said Bo's talked to the team, but he said look, we're doing this Like, Bo wants the team to finish strong. He's like, but we as a team want to finish strong. He's like, we're doing this for Auburn, and we'll always do it for Auburn, and it's a pride thing is what he said. And so I think they've got the right – I think they'll have the right mindset of go win a game, and then it's the Iron Bowl, and everybody's going to be jacked for that. So they just need to get a W out there. Just get a W and get home and have another week of reps. They said it was a good day of practice on Tuesday. They said a lot of energy. So I think it's just about execution with Finley. But I think we might be surprised. I think they might. I mean, who knows? I think they might go play. They might go play some inspired football.
I'm ready. I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Justin, I'll add one more thing.
And
we can leave it. The kicking situation, man.
Ooh.
I mean, who knows? This game could be close, right? I mean, we're saying it can't be close. I think Auburn might, have the edge right now, even with Finley. But if it gets down to a close game and you got a field goal or something,
well, you don't have anything to lose, right? Like I was talking to somebody earlier. I mean, would anybody blame Brian Harsin if they're on the 25, 27-yard line, even the 20, 30-yard line, and it's 4th and 4, 4th and 3, 4th and 5, and he goes for it? Would anybody blame him at this point with no Anders Carlson? I mean, doesn't he have a pass to just go for it?
I wouldn't blame him with Anders Carlson the way he been kicking. I'm serious. You got to be better, bro.
Yeah, 14-21 is what he's going to end the year at.
That's what Carlson is, 2 of 3?
I think so, yeah.
66%?
Couple blocked.
No, sir, not at Auburn, not in the SEC. If you can't do better than that, Jacksonville State needs a kicker. Mississippi State needs a kicker. I'm telling you, man, kickers, I don't get it. You got one freaking job, dude.
You got one job.
You got one job. Kick it between the uprights.
It's been off this year. I mean, they missed an extra point. Special teams as a whole has been off this year. Every special teams as a whole, outside of Oscar Chapman, that dude's just like nobody even knows his name, and he's
absolutely
great. Yeah.
No, we haven't even talked. Nobody has mentioned Oscar Chapman's name.
Yeah, barely. It's just I mean,
it's pretty good.
But I guess if you're the kicker or a punter, you hope nobody knows your name, right?
Right. Yeah, you would hope.
Because the only reason we're talking about Carlson is because he's been very average.
Yeah.
Average at best this year.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to that, I think Harsin, and even bigger, even with Finley, man. Like I think he doesn't look at it this way. Obviously, Brian Harsin's not going as a fan, as a supporter, just as somebody who's thinking about perception and how people might be viewing Harsin these last couple games. To me, there's no pressure. You have a backup quarterback. You have no kicker. If he lost to South Carolina, like, fans would be mad, but would they completely trash him? Maybe a little bit. But I mean, I just think he's got a free reign to kind of go for it on 4th down, be a Cavalier. I mean, you're with your backup quarterback. It's not your fault. Nick's got hurt. I don't know, man. Just go let it loose and go for it on 4th downs, and nobody's gonna blame you, man.
Yeah, you're right. They shouldn't anyway. There would be no. I mean,
they will, but they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't be fair to, but they might. But you're right. I mean, you gotta do what the best, your best percentage is, and that's probably maybe even going for 2 at times too. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure they're probably working on that right now.
So over that debate. Go for 2 and kick the extra point. That was a fun debate. All right. Let's talk recruiting. That's more exciting right now. Auburn trying to finish strong. Yeah, Malik Agbo. You guys talked about that, I'm sure, ad nauseum on y'all's podcast and reported it. Malik Agbo. Somebody asked me. I was on with the Next Round guys in Birmingham, and they asked about Iron Bowl weekend, and said, "Hey, is that shaping up?" They're like, "Hey, is that shaping up to be a big time recruiting weekend?" I'm like, yeah, it should be. I mean, Auburn only had one big visitor for Ole Miss, and it's been, they haven't had since the Georgia game, they haven't had like just a boatload of guys. And so Iron Bowl at home, I was like, yeah, it should be a monster weekend for the staff. Is that kind of where we're at? Everything leading up to who can they get to the Iron Bowl? What important guys can they get? What kind of impressions can they get? Is it all, Jeffrey, just leading up to the Iron Bowl at this point?
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot, man. I mean, it's going to be huge. Absolutely. But what I'm looking forward to the most, this Iron Bowl, in my opinion, as Cole and I have both been talking about, more names popping up, some names we're hearing behind the scenes. To me, this Iron Bowl and who shows up is going to be Auburn's coaches grabbing the sheet and pulling it away and really, showing how they're trying to finish this class before December the 15th. Who's coming? The official visitors. I mean, it might be 8 to 10 before, so it might be more. I don't know. But there's a lot of guys coming in, unofficial list. I'm sure it's going to be full and packed, and they're going to be very selective in who they're letting in. The 2023 guys, all those top dogs from in-state and Georgia and anybody who wants to come up and over from Mississippi and Florida. But I really feel like we will have a really good, a much better grasp of, number one, who Auburn's targeting. If there's legit interest there, if there's mutual interest there, because if they're there, then they're obviously interested at least to get over there. And even if they're just coming for the game, dude, you get them on campus, you got a shot. So who Auburn's targeting, what those guys are, the interest is from those guys, and then getting some exit interviews after the game. I think that's really important for guys like Cole and himself. It's not just read the words on the paper, but to hear them and to see them and how they talk, to see who they're talking to. And I really feel like we'll have a much better gauge on Auburn's goals for this class and who they're targeting and kind of their chances after this game, because it's going to be a star-studded group, or at least I would expect.
Yep, I agree. It's going to be yeah, I like what you said, Jeffrey, about kind of pulling back the sheet. I think you'll see some people there that you might be surprised to see there, and think about it this way too. This is the last game of the season, right? Regular season. Usually, a lot of times when we talk to recruits after these games, didn't get to catch Harson today. Didn't get to catch Coach Eason today. He was kind of busy. I'm not saying they're not going to be busy after the game, but they'll have more time to actually get an idea of how the guys are doing, how they're feeling about the visit, the atmosphere, all that stuff. I think they'll get to talk to them and kind of, work on them a little bit after the game and all that weekend. So to me, this is the biggest week of the year for recruiting. It's Georgia was huge. You had so many guys there. I think this one's just one step above that. Really, I think it's shaping up to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to go in? So they have that weekend, and then you've got
2 weekends in December.
Early signing. What is the early signing periods right after? I mean, right there in December.
December 15th. I think there's December 4th and there's December the 11th, and then the dead period will begin until that Wednesday.
Yeah.
So there's still 2 more weekends after this week, after the game, after the Iron Bowl, after Thanksgiving. 2 weekends in December. But I'm curious to see who comes in for official visits next week. And we've heard a lot of buzz. We know Keontae Scott's coming in, the JUCO DB. JUCO cornerback, I should say, to be more specific. Then I think the biggest one is Antonio Williams, the wide receiver, with Darius Clemens kind of presumably slipping down the board.
What's the story with him? I saw the graphic on social media that they made that some of the guys were pushing, right?
Did you count how many players Auburn had on there?
No.
I didn't want to publicly say it because I didn't want to piss Trey off. But they had 12 commitments up there, and then right. Curtis Perry.
Yeah.
I mean, like when the graphic was for Curtis Perry or Antonio Williams.
Trey was not included
They did not put Trey Donaldson on there.
Yeah. I did notice that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring it to Trey's attention. Of course, he signed and delivered. Ain't shit he can do. But I thought that was interesting. And I think Cole wrote the other day, Auburn's got 13, but we're going to call it 12 because Trey, and even like Bruce said in his comments, I think it was Tuesday night when Auburn finally releases Chance Westry and Trey Donaldson. But Bruce said he might be one of the best defensive backs in the country, but this dude's a basketball player. And that's how he left it. And of course, we've been saying that from the beginning. I know Justin and I both, since August, we've been saying he wants to play too, but we'll see if that ever pans out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell we were talking about. I just got off on Oh, we were talking about Antonio Williams coming down. We got Keontae Scott. We got Curtis Perry coming in for an official visit. Were those graphics for the official visitors?
No, I think they were. It just said come home. I think they just made them to recruit them, and it was Antonio Williams, Curtis Perry, might have been another one, but I just saw the commits retweeting them, and I don't know that I've seen. That's obviously becoming a bigger deal, right? Like the graphics and the social media.
Oh yeah.
But that's pretty bold to just. I don't know many that I've seen that just straight up been like let's go, like come home, like
come here,
commit, like please commit. I mean, just putting yourself out there. I mean, in a big way.
Who else? We're probably going to see a lot of other committed to other schools. DeMario Tolan's coming over. Jadarian Rims coming over. Spurlock's coming down. Michigan commit. LSU commit.
Trey Citizen might be there.
Trey Citizen. Robert Woodyard's coming back.
Tay Woody,
big time.
After he says.
So, I mean, let's go back and hold on. Let's name them. So we got Antonio Williams, Keontae Scott, Curtis Perry. These are official visitors, Cole. Yeah. Maybe do Spurlock.
Yeah.
Who'd you say? Tay Woody.
You said Keontae Scott.
Is Trey Citizen? Jadarian Rim?
Trey Citizen will be unofficial if he comes.
So will Rim too. Didn't he take an official visit back in June?
DeMario
Tolan.
Tolan's official.
Mm-hmm.
Colston Loveland's another name.
There you go. That's 7 or 8 right there. And then that's the guys that we know. I'm telling you, it might be 10 or more. It's going to be a big weekend. It's going to be a big weekend. And these guys most of them are finished with high school, I'm guessing, right? It's 3rd or 4th round by now. If you're not playing for the state, you're done.
Yeah.
I thought that was big for Malik Agbo to get back, to fly from Washington State last week and get on campus at Friday afternoon, stay until Sunday afternoon. And he did. So getting these guys for that, because a lot of times these guys playing on Friday night and they get into Auburn at 12, and it's basically a one full day, maybe a day and a half official visit. You want them guys getting here Friday afternoon, seeing the sun go down, and then leaving before sundown on Sunday.
Yeah.
When y'all talk to these guys as the season's gone on, and I'm curious about the Iron Bowl after that game too. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've covered it back in the day. I mean, in general, I know most guys are concerned with depth chart at their position and playing time and fit and things like that. They're not that concerned with wins and losses because they all think they can come in and change it. So
right.
But I guess, what has been from a coaching staff perspective, I still feel like I don't completely know what this staff's made of recruiting wise, even though they've all got experience in college. I mean, it's not like they're a bunch of guys who've never recruited before. Obviously it's the first class at Auburn. And I guess we just got to see the class finish and then and evaluate them. But I guess then we can make it a determination. But I don't know if it's because it's more quiet, more close to the vest, and so we just don't have as much intel on like insight on what these guys are doing and how they recruit. And I don't know. I feel like I don't have a good feel for them as recruiters yet.
I think that's fair. But you got to think of the COVID. We haven't been at the complex. Do y'all even get to go to the complex, the team?
I haven't stepped foot in there. I haven't met one of those guys.
Wow, really?
Oh.
So, we got a quick look back in June when they opened visits back up from the COVID. And so we got some introductions. We got to kind of talk to them, meet them, but it was – and then they quickly kicked us out. I don't think those dudes were used to all this. They weren't used to people actually giving a shit about what they do in recruiting.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, hey, oh my God, what are you doing? Well, we're here to cover your recruiting. We're going to see how good of a recruiters you are. And they're like, hey, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I think we'll know a lot more. I mean, you talk to these kids and you hear what they're talking about. We always talk about the assistant coaches for the guys recruiting them. We know Mike Bobo. We know what he can do. But what I've been surprised with is Nick Keeson, the defensive line guys. Talk about him. But I think December 15th, I thought they did a great job last year in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I think 80, 90% of the guys right. I mean, can you name the Dre Miller? Is he the only one who really hasn't contributed?
Drayshawn Miller has for sure been a bust.
And hell, he was like second team All-American at West Virginia, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was one of the more highly thought of
Right.
transfers, and he's been a bust. Kaufman, he's helped. He's now
Right.
that the last few weeks he's helped, but he hasn't been.
And he's a freshman.
Yeah, nothing crazy there. Darius Knighton's been okay.
We haven't seen Joko Willis.
Yeah, not much of him. Marcus Harris has been important. Tony Fair's been important.
Right.
That TJ Finley pool is looking pretty good right
Ooh.
now.
Yeah, TJ Folt. Yeah. Well, so hey, I meant to ask. Well, we can talk about that next week about D Davis, because I meant to bring that up about what y'all thought about D Davis. Should he get a shot? Should he not get a shot? I meant to bring that up, but because Harson was like, we haven't even thought about whether we're going to play him or not, so it doesn't sound like he's going to play. But yeah, transfer wise. Yeah, I mean, I think I thought initially like, hey, they did really good, and I still think they did pretty good. I'm trying to think of other guys. Who were we missing?
Knighton.
A lot of people want to put everything on the individual performances from these guys, but to me, you got to look at the needs they filled. Like, what would Auburn's defensive line have been this year without the help and depth from Tony Fair and Marcus Harris and Iku Leota?
Leota, there you go.
Man.
Yeah, those guys have been the most valuable. The defensive linemen have been the most. I feel like have been the most valuable. No, they were desperate. That
was huge.
Before they got those guys, everybody was like, I thought we needed offensive linemen and receivers. I don't know why we're getting defensive linemen. I mean, I heard that a few times. Like, shouldn't we be getting offensive linemen? Well, there's obviously a need at defensive line, and they felt pretty comfortable with 5 seniors across the board on the offensive line. So, give them a chance to evaluate. Give them a chance to build the roster before we go, okay, I don't really agree with that, they're building depth. That's the biggest thing.
And I think I talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago, but Cole's talking about their evaluations. All these guys, they got committed early, and you see the type of senior years they're having. It's not like any of them are like busts right now. Like
no.
we saw Powell Gordon against IMG and what he's capable of doing against studs. We do the commitment tracker each week, and Damari Austin's averaging 200 a game, and Golden Gurner's doing his thing, and Kobe Albert's doing his thing. Trey Donaldson obviously doing his thing. Caden Story, all these cats, and we know about the offensive line and EJ Harris and Drew Bobo.
Yes.
So far, I mean, you look at the commitment list and you look at the commitment tracker and what these guys have done their senior years, and they're batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Even the kicker who won't talk to anybody is booting state records up there.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Yeah, dude. He won't talk.
Wow.
Yeah, he's kind of shut me and Jeffrey out.
Yeah, it kind of pisses me off.
Huh. He's not doing any interviews at all?
If you catch him out the game, like leaving the game, he'll talk to you, or he asks me. But I mean, like, hey man, what's your stats? No, ghost. I mean, crickets, dude. And I got to the point where I was like, screw it, man. If you don't want any coverage, I won't give you any state record. I put in there like, he keeps the 61-yarder. I mean, I don't give if you don't want the coverage, I ain't gonna give it to you.
Just text him back, but hey, I'm gonna assume you missed them all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh for what this week? 0 for 4. Don't respond if it was 0 for 4.
Yeah, heard you. I'm going to go with that 0 for 4. Unless it's different.
Yeah, but so anyway, the commitments. They got these guys early. They were early. There were some of the fans on the corner, subscribers and stuff, are going, "Oh my God, this guy didn't have this or that," and we're beating East Carolina for this guy or whoever else it was. And you look down at the commitment list and what these guys are doing. A lot of them are still playing because their teams are really good. And you go, man, these guys, at least they're really, really good high school players. They're not taking busts and stuff. That's what's impressed me about the commitment list so far. And they've got 12. We know they're probably going to take 10 more. 10 more.
Yeah, at least.
And so, yeah, at least, right? I mean, on December 15th, I would say 22 at least. And then
that's what I put on the board too. If you're not excited, I mean, we got less than a month, and there's going to be at least 10 new guys in the class.
And don't tell me, see, all right now, Auburn could take Justin Williams, the 4-star running back from Georgia. They could take him right now. All you have to do is pick up the phone and say, we're going to offer you. I'm coming.
Yeah, he'd be in.
Yeah, he's in. They could go get an S. Cooper, Pleasant Grove. They could take him at any time.
Yep.
And I think Cole has written this more than once, but they're not just doing that, man. They think they got some good shots. And if those are your fallback guys, then you're doing pretty well.
I'll tell you what makes me think, and I could always be wrong on this, but it just gives me the feeling that they got things, they got some irons in the fire. They got some things going on behind the scenes just because there's 3 guys on the commit list right now that I go to. Damari Austin. Now, we knew that Auburn was recruiting him, but it was like overnight you just heard, okay, Georgia's out, LSU's out. Looks like Auburn right now. Just kind of overnight. I mean, he was on the board, but the interest was, or at least the coverage was on guys like Quinshon Judkins and Omarion Hampton and guys like that at the time. And Austin was kind of
Manuel Henderson.
Yeah, Manuel Henderson. And you're like, okay, well, Austin's he's there. We like him, but haven't heard that much about him. And then boom, it's all Auburn. Okay, another one like that is Amari Kelly. He just goes kind of quiet, right?
Yeah.
And maybe just because they're not saying a whole lot, but then out of nowhere, it's like, okay, he's committed.
Right.
Happened kind of quick. How about Micah Riley Ducker? That's another one to me was just an incredible pull. I mean, you think about how many – he's a traditional tight end, right? You think about how many teams really use the traditional tight end these days. The ones that come to mind, Wisconsin, Iowa State, Illinois. Well, guess what? That's who all wanted him. So, I mean, Alabama doesn't really use traditional tight ends. They like the hybrid guy, So, Auburn beat those guys out for traditional tight end powerhouses. That's huge. And it seemingly happened overnight. Like, you weren't hearing anything, and then the next day it's like, hey, by the way, Micah Riley Ducker's going to Auburn. Oh, interesting. I just have a feeling something like that's going to happen again. And you got, 10 to 12 spots left. So I just think it's going to be a wild finish.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild finish. Yeah. I mean, you guys talking about 10 spots available. Yeah, it's going to be – sounds like it's going to be real interesting. And, so you mentioned about late flips, and we can end on this, but about potential – I'm thinking about, is this staff as new as they are? I mean, yeah, I think they'll use every available moment, second to work. I mean, some of these kids and coaches, they're behind. So I think it would, they're going to try to build relationships like literally still now up to the very last second, last minute, and see if it'll make a difference. So yeah, I think the end of the last month of Auburn's recruiting could be, it really could be. I mean, they haven't been there long enough to, once they're here, they can you can map this stuff out ahead of time. They're just like, I mean, they'll go to the last minute and try to figure out who they can get. Some of those guys, they're still trying to maybe figure out where they stand and maybe make a late push, things like that. So yeah, I think it could be a wild finish for Auburn recruiting, hopefully trying to land in the top 15, which I feel like they've got a good shot at, right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll end on that as Auburn prepares for South Carolina. Go to auburnlive.com and read everything that we have going on. If you're listening to this, the Modcast, it's probably Friday, so go check out the War Room. Hot boards are up, recruiting insiders, all that stuff from a recruiting standpoint. We'll have coverage after the Auburn-South Carolina game. Auburn basketball plays at South Florida on Friday night. So check that out, and then they'll go to the Bahamas. So Auburn basketball season is heating up as well. So make sure you're a part of auburnlive.com and subscribe. It's still $10 for a year. Won't be like that for long. So go check it out and be a part of the community. For Jeffrey and Cole, I am Justin. We'll see you next time.